What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtery here with Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, Trey Hendrickson is still holding in, but what he is doing at Bengals training camp, I do think can help the Bengals in the long run. And also, offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher giving some high praise to Chase Brown, calling him a top 10 running back in the National Football League. We'll break both of those things down here on today's show. Before we get into that, though, make sure you guys have your notifications turned on, because when Trey Hendrickson does eventually get signed, we will have a video for you guys, so do not miss out. Turn those notifications on. Go back to the main page, hit that little bell icon, change it from personalized to all, so every single time we put a video out for you guys are updated. Do not miss out. Join the Noti Gang here on Bengals Breakdown. Do not miss out on any Bengals news. All right, first up on today's show, let's talk about Trey Hendrickson here. He has not been gotten that contract extension that he wants from the Cincinnati Bengals, but one thing that he is doing at practice right now during his hold-in, he's stepping up. He's being a leader, and I think that's notable, and I think that is a good thing for the Cincinnati Bengals, specifically when talking about rookie Shamar Stewart. He's been helping the Bengals' first-round pick out at practice. And, since Trey Hendrickson returned from Florida and turned that holdout to a hold-in, he's been there pretty much every single day. He's been there pretty much as another coach on the field, helping some of these younger guys for the Bengals, in particular, a guy like Shamar Stewart, who, as we'll talk about in a second, kind of knocked Joe Burrow down yesterday, but we'll talk about that here in just a second. This is what Shamar Stewart said about Trey Hendrickson, helping him out, giving him some advice here at Bengals training camp. He said his biggest thing is that me and him are not the same. But if I can get you or give you a couple of little details to make your game better, you can flip it to what works for you. At the end of the day, you become a little bit better, and one day, eventually, I'll be like him. I appreciate that type of mindset from, a guy who is a rookie. He's still really young, but at the end of the day, his outlook is very, very high as well. Zach Taylor also praising Trey Hendrickson as well, saying for him, a veteran player being able to come in and, pass down the knowledge that he has gotten from his own experience from past players that have given him that knowledge. I appreciate that, he's out here helping some of these younger guys get better. When we talk about, Shamar Stewart, obviously there was that little scuffle yesterday that broke out during practice when Stewart knocked down Joe Burrow. And, he got there by beating Lucas Patrick on the play, which might be a whole other issue that we need to talk about here in the future along that offensive line. But, at the end of the day, these situations happen. He is a rookie. He's going to end up learning from that. Rookies make that mistake pretty much every single year across the NFL during training camp. They get roughed up for it. It just is what it is. They're trying to show out. He's trying to go hard, especially a guy like Shamar Stewart who, missed the first little bit of training camp. He also missed the all of rookie mini camp as well. So, he's just trying to, go out there and prove himself at the end of the day. And while he needs to, check some of that stuff where you just can't touch the quarterback, that just is what it is. I think at the end of the day, I do think it is a positive thing that he is going out there. He is trying hard, and he's trying to make a name for himself during Bengals training camp at the end of the day. So let me know here at the pinned comment of today's video, how many sacks do you think Shamar Stewart will have this season? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. How many sacks do you think Shamar Stewart will have this season? Now, I know this isn't the Trey Hendrickson update that everybody really wants, but I do think it is notable. I know everybody wants Trey Hendrickson to be out there on the field, but at least he is doing right now what he can. He is being a leader. He is being a mentor to some of these younger guys that really do need it. Somebody like Trey Hendrickson with all the experience and all the knowledge that he has as an NFL player, that can go a long way. And when you think about, especially think about the quarterback position, there's a lot of guys that get drafted into the NFL and, whatever quarterback is on that team, think of Aaron Rodgers as an example, he was very adamant about not wanting to go out there and help whoever some of those younger guys are. This is the NFL. They need to, do whatever they have to do to get better. I'm not here to be their coach. So, when it comes to Trey Hendrickson, I appreciate the fact that he is at least at practice right now, and he is helping some of those younger guys. This was from Adam Schefter a couple of weeks ago. We all know the situation around this contract issue right now with Trey Hendrickson. It is about the guaranteed money, and it is about the length of the contract that he wants. The Bengals right now offering him just a 1-year guaranteed. Trey Hendrickson wants 2 years guaranteed. So there is an issue there, but Trey Hendrickson did tell the media the other day that, if a contract were to get signed, he would be ready for week 1. That is the big if a contract extension does get signed. Now, what we know of the situation right now, Hendrickson told Manti Te'o a couple of weeks ago that in terms of the guaranteed money, the offer was atrociously low. So that's not a very good thing. And, I think with these, good faith negotiations, they're supposed to be about meeting each other in the middle. The Bengals offered him 1. Trey wants at least 3. Why don't we just make it 2 and get the best defensive player in the NFL on the field? I don't really think it hurts Trey Hendrickson at the end of the day to go out there and miss training camp. He's a professional. He is going to get his when he is on the field. He is going to stay ready. It's not like he's one of these guys that, if a deal does get signed, that he's going to come out here, miss all this time and, he's not going to be ready. He's not going to be in shape or anything like that. Trey Hendrickson is one of the most professional guys that, you could think of in terms of going through this type of situation. But, one thing about training camp, it does build up, kind of calluses the body, right? You see a lot of guys early on in training camp. They have to sit out every now and then because, they get banged up. They have these soft tissue injuries. What you don't want, I think, is for Trey Hendrickson to go out there early in the season, get a little bit banged up, have some kind of soft tissue injury, and then not be out there, for games, or at least not be 100% for games. That's one thing you really, really do not want. As of right now, though, there really hasn't been any kind of actual update on this contract situation. Ben Baby of ESPN wrote an article just yesterday about it, and I'm going to give you this piece just to show you guys what the latest quote-unquote is on it, but really not much of an update here. He said a source familiar with the negotiations said the two sides have talked since Hendrickson reported to training camp. However, there has been little headway as the 30-year-old ramps up for his 9th NFL season. We'll continue on some Chase Brown discussion here in just a second, but first want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. They have these Bengals Hoodie t-shirts on sale still. Don't know how long they're going to be on sale, so if you guys want one, you need to get it today just by going to chatsports.com/Bengals Hoodie t-shirt. It was $55 on sale right now for just $33. That link will be down in the comment section at the pinned comment of today's video, as well as the third paragraph in the description of today's video as well. All right, Bengals offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher also gave Chase Brown some very high praise on Wednesday, calling him a top 10 running back in the NFL. We talked about some of these other guys, Samaje Perine, Taj Brooks, Brightwell as well. We've talked about those guys a lot, but Chase Brown is going to get the majority of the carries for the Bengals this season. And whether or not I think he's a top 10 NFL running back, maybe not top 10, but he is certainly up there, a little bit higher than some other people have him in their NFL running back ranking. So we're going to talk about that here in just a second as well. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. What do you think? Is Chase Brown a top 10 NFL running back going into this season right now? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no down in the comment section of today's video. Now, from year 1 to year 2, Chase Brown did get a whole lot better. Not that he was awful by any means. He only played in 12 games, and he was a rookie that first year. But in year 2, man, he was absolutely incredible. 229 carries, almost 1,000 yards. And in my opinion, anytime you're above 4 yards per carry, that's a really, really good thing. And also, one thing about Chase Brown is he also is a very good pass catcher out of the backfield as well. This past season, 54 receptions for 360 yards and also 4 receiving touchdowns as well. So that's one of those, skill sets that he brings to the table that, I think running backs just in general, their pass catching ability and their playmaking ability out of the backfield a lot of the times does get kind of overlooked. And when you look back earlier in July, Maurice Jones-Drew actually ranked Chase Brown as the 31st out of top 32 running backs in the NFL. Now, I did not make this list, so do not come after me on that. I don't know if Chase Brown's a top 10 running back, but he sure as hell isn't a 31st ranked running back in the National Football League. And the rationale behind that ranking was the Bengals throw the ball a lot. Well, they do also run the ball a lot too. Chase Brown had 229 carries last season and 53 receptions. That's not nothing. He is arguably one of the better receiving, playmaking running backs in the NFL. Just look back to that game versus the Eagles. He had 3 receptions for 25 yards on top of 5 carries for 23 yards. That doesn't really sound like a whole ton just by looking at the stat line there, but shoot, that's almost 50 yards of all-purpose yardage on only 8 touches. And some of the running backs that he had above Chase Brown in his rankings, I just don't really get it here. Look, 3 of these guys are rookies, Amarian Hampton, Ashton Jeanty, and R.J. Harvey. Maybe they break out this year and have incredible years, but I don't think you can call anybody who hasn't touched the field in an NFL game better than Chase Brown. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Kenneth Walker only had 573 yards last year in 11 games played. Isaiah Pacheco only played 7 games with 310 yards last year. So it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you could argue he's not a top 10 running back, but he is definitely not the 31st best running back in the National Football League. Jerome Ford, I mean, the Browns drafted Quinshon Judkins this year. I mean, how much more is Jerome Ford actually going to do for the Browns this year? He had 565 yards last year for the Browns. So, you add another playmaking running back in that backfield for them, I would assume it's probably going to stay the same or go down. So, like I said a second ago, I don't know if he's a top 10 running back in the National Football League, but he sure as hell isn't the 31st best running back in the National Football League.